Never look a celebrity in the eyes.
Ever. That's what they said. And for the record, they meant it. I grew up in a 2-bedroom apartment in Syracuse, dreaming of Broadway lights and cinema marquees. New York was always right there, close enough to smell but far enough to feel like a different planet. Now I'm 26, and I just quit acting. No, not because it was hard. I was good. Really good. I'd done off-Broadway plays, small features, even some commercial work that made rent easier. But I quit because of one job. It was this past January, when the sun would start setting around 4 p.m. and the city turned to grayscale before the snow even hit the ground. That time of year when gigs dry up, and actors spend more time editing their resumes than rehearsing. Still, I had a decent agent. And somehow, amidst the slowdown, he landed me a role. Well, role is generous. Camille, he said, they want you for the grocery store gig.
He rolled my eyes.
That one again? He'd pitched it to me before. Grocery store customer, a background role for some high-concept, ultra-discreet production run by an unnamed A-lister. Nobody ever said much about it. It paid unusually well for background work. Too well. But each time I auditioned, I was rejected. Lack of experience, they claimed. Funny. I'd been cast in productions that made national press, but I couldn't land a gig pushing a cart past a row of bananas. Still, when they finally said yes, I hated that I was excited. That first morning was like something out of a dream, except colder.
7:30 Uhr morgens.
Still dark. A closed Whole Foods on the Lower East Side. You wouldn't even know there was a set unless you caught the white tent pitched by the entrance or noticed the half-awake crew muttering into walkies with coffee steam trailing from their mouths. I followed a few others toward the tent. There was a craft services table with some stale bagels and lukewarm coffee. I poured myself a cup just as a man my age, medium build, with easy eyes and a puffer jacket, stepped up next to me, eyeing the muffins. "You knew?" he asked. "Yeah. Camille. Marcus. Welcome." He seemed nice enough. But something about his face. "Wait, were you in Harlem Ashes?" He winced a little. "Yeah. Wow. Didn't think anyone watched that." "Are you kidding? It was in Tribeca, Toronto, and Sundance. What are you doing here?" He smiled. But it didn't reach his eyes. "You'll see." Before I could press, a voice cut through the tent like a blade.
All right, everybody.
Let us sit. Let us sit. You know the drill. The man barking orders was Harold, the assistant director. He had a beer gut stuffed into a starched white button-up and teeth the color of weak tea. We all found seats on folding chairs facing him. At least 100 people filled the space. I spotted a few other new faces, just as confused as I was. "Rule number 1, Harold began, you're shoppers. That's your role.
Act like it. Shop for real. Pick what you depict.
If you're done, start over." I scribbled a few notes out of habit. Next to me, Marcus didn't bother. "Rule number 2, if Eli talks to you, treat him like a stranger. No fan energy. No compliments. Don't even act like you know who he is." There it was. Eli Stone. Even saying his name now feels like a mistake.
Global superstar.
Singer. Actor.
Icon.
Face of 3 fashion lines and a dozen memes. You couldn't grow up in the 2010s and not know who he was. I'd watched every late-night interview he ever did. He always seemed real humble, like someone you could actually be friends with if the world were less insane. "Rule number 3, Harold boomed.
C'est it with me."
Everyone around me chanted in eerie monotone. Absolutely. Positively. No eye contact. I blinked. What the hell was this? I'd heard of divas demanding green M&Ms and body doubles for lighting tests, but no eye contact? It felt like theater camp meets cult ritual. I wanted to laugh, but the intensity on everyone's faces made it clear, this wasn't a joke. We lined up to receive our shopping money, $200 in crisp $20 bills from a stone-faced assistant in a parka. I folded mine and tucked it into my coat pocket like it was radioactive. 9 a.m. sharp, we began shopping. I'd actually written a fake list the night before: eggs, almond milk, frozen dumplings. It helped keep me in character. Everyone else seemed deep in their roles too, carefully reading nutrition labels, knocking over cans, sampling grapes. There were cashiers ringing people up, butchers sharpening knives, bakers setting out loaves. Every detail screamed authenticity. And then, the atmosphere shifted. The sliding doors opened with a hiss. Eli Stone walked in. He looked older than I'd imagined. No makeup. No filters. Just a hoodie, beanie, and tired eyes. He was still beautiful, like he'd been carved by a soft breeze, but not in the way I'd seen on screen. This was the raw, undistilled version. He grabbed a shopping basket and began walking the aisles like any regular guy. I quickly looked away. Every part of my brain screamed, "Don't stare." I kept myself occupied in the produce section, pretending to study avocados like they held the meaning of life. 1. Squeeze. 2. Rotate. 3. Sigh dramatically. Then, a voice. "Any keepers?" I froze. I turned, and there he was. Eli Stone, smiling right at me. I kept my gaze locked just above his shoulder.
Oh, yeah.
These two seem promising.
Don't take them all now.
Some of us are late to the party. I stammered out a laugh. He reached over, grabbed the ones I'd indicated, and plopped them into his basket. Thanks. New to the neighborhood. I could feel the gaze of someone, maybe Harold, watching from the registers. I waved him off quickly. Yeah. Just moved nearby. See you around. And I turned my cart like it had a mind of its own and glided away before anything else could happen. I shopped in peace for another hour. Eli left quietly not long after. When I finally checked out, Harold met me outside with a manila envelope. Back in 2 weeks. I nodded. Sure. Why not? That night, lying on my couch in Queens, I couldn't stop rewinding everything I saw. It was so surreal. It felt real, like an elaborate play without a stage. But something was off. Something in Marcus's voice. Something in the rule we all chanted like prayer. And something in Eli. Whatever. The money was good. Really good. I was between roles. And this could lead somewhere. Still, that lingering voice in my head whispered, "What happens if you break the rules?" 2 weeks later, I was back. Same white tent. Same bitter cold. Same stale bagels on the craft table. This time, the air felt heavier, like the silence between orchestra warm-ups, everyone waiting for a single note to break the illusion again. I noticed immediately, someone was missing. The bald man from last time. The one scribbling notes like a method actor preparing for Shakespeare. I never caught his name, but he'd stood out, too eager, too curious. Now, nothing. "Morning," Marcus said, sliding into the folding chair next to me. "Hey. Good to see you." "You too. I heard you had a moment with Eli last time." I shrugged, not wanting to make a thing of it. He asked about avocados. Marcus raised his eyebrows. Nice. Still waiting on my produce moment. I laughed, but something in his tone felt rehearsed. "Hey," I asked quietly, "do you know what happened to that bald guy from day one? The one with the notebook?" Marcus tensed. It was so slight you'd miss it if you weren't looking. I hadn't noticed he was gone. He glanced around the tent, scanning for Harold or anyone with a clipboard. Then leaned in. Probably looked. "What?" "You know," he whispered, looked at him. At Eli. Like really looked. I stared at Marcus. "You think they fired him for that?" He nodded slowly. "Yeah. People disappear from this gig all the time." Quietly. Before I could ask more, Harold emerged. Same stained shirt, same coffee breath that arrived before he did. "Chop chop, everyone. Let's get to it." We filed into the store again. This time, the lights felt dimmer. Or maybe it was just me. I pulled out my faux shopping list and started browsing like I belonged there. Eggs, canned tomatoes, pretzels, frozen spinach. I reached for the cart with muscle memory, but my mind wandered to the bald man. What had he seen? An hour passed. No Eli. 2 hours. Still no Eli. I was debating whether to grab a second box of pasta just for show when the intercom crackled above. "Everyone go home. Eli took a spontaneous trip with his new friend." Won't be coming in today. Everyone dropped what they were doing. Like flipping a switch, the illusion shattered in seconds. Actors left carts half full. Cashiers walked off mid-scan. It was like the spell had been broken. Marcus and I left together. That happen often? I asked. More than you'd think, he replied. If Eli finds someone new, the show shuts down for a while. I frowned. You mean, like a real person? Marcus glanced at me sideways, like he wasn't sure how much to say. Sometimes actors get close. Too close. He gets interested. Then they vanish from our world and enter his. It sounded insane. But something about it tracked. The looks. The rituals. The silence. Back home that night, I cracked open a cheap beer and collapsed into my second-hand couch. I didn't turn on the TV. I didn't need to. I knew what would be on. Sure enough, as I scrolled my phone, a clip popped up, Eli Stone on The Tonight Show, grinning ear to ear, telling some story about getting lost in the East Village with a friend. The audience roared. The host laughed. But me? I felt nothing.
No envy. No admiration.
Just a dull nausea. I used to want to sit across from that desk. Now I wasn't so sure. Around midnight, I dozed off. And that's when the phone buzzed. My eyes fluttered open. The screen glowed against the dark room. Unknown number. 3 messages. Hey, it's Harold. Sorry for the late call. Eli wants to do a late-night grocery run. Double rate if you can get here in 30. I should have said no. But I didn't. Instead, I pulled on my jeans, splashed water on my face, called a lift, and headed downtown. My gut said something was wrong. But my wallet said otherwise. When I arrived, there was no tent. No breakfast table. No call sheet. Just Harold pacing by the sliding glass doors, his phone pressed so tightly to his ear it looked like it had grown into his skin. Camille. Thank God. Get inside. Keep it casual. There were only a handful of us this time, maybe 7 total. We moved quietly through the aisles under dim, humming lights. No direction. Just wait for the star to arrive. And then he did. Eli Stone. No beanie this time.
No swagger.
He looked shattered. His eyes were bloodshot. His lips pale. He moved like someone walking through molasses. He didn't speak to anyone. Just pushed his basket toward the frozen section. I followed. Not on purpose. Something about the way he moved. It pulled at me. He stood there, staring at a wall of ice cream pints like it held the answer to life. Maybe it was the alcohol still in my system. Or the guilt. Or the empathy. But something made me step forward. Hey, I said softly. Avocado guy. You okay? He turned. His eyes locked with mine. And I forgot how to breathe. They weren't just blue. They were deep. Reflective. Like mirrors of the ocean during a storm. He blinked slowly, almost confused by my presence. Then he smiled. Oh. Avocado girl. Rough night. Needed a little therapy. He held up a pint of chocolate therapy. I laughed. Yeah, that one's dangerous. We stood there. Silent. No one interrupted. Even the store felt quieter. Then he extended his hand. Aimeli. I hesitated. Camille. He held my hand a second longer than necessary. Maybe I'll see you around, he said, his voice softer now. And just like that, he was gone. 1 pint of ice cream, 1 basket, 1 exit door. Harold came over the intercom minutes later. Wrap it up. Collect pay at the front. I turned to leave, but Harold caught me by the checkout. His face was tight. Lips pressed. Camille, he said, I'm sorry. But you're done. What? We can't have you back. I stared at him. Why? You looked, he said, and walked away. The next morning, sunlight crept across my pillow like an apology. I hadn't slept, not really. Just drifted in and out of a fog, haunted by the moment Harold looked me dead in the eye and said, You looked. Like I had broken a vow I never agreed to. Like I had peered into something sacred and now had to pay. I rolled over, grabbed my phone, and unlocked the screen. 3 messages. From an unknown number. Hey, it's Eli. What are you doing today? Thought maybe we could grab dinner? Sorry if that's too forward. I just feel like we had a connection last night. My breath caught.
No emoji.
No signature.
Just. A. Some part of me knew it was him the moment I read it. The tone, soft, uncertain. Like someone used to being adored but terrified of being known. I stared at the messages. Was it real? A prank? Did Harold give him my number? I should have blocked it. Reported it. Run. But instead I typed. Hey Eli. Nice to hear from you.
Idée love tout.
His reply came within seconds.
Pick you up at 6. T'accuais dessus. Bac en transe.
I googled it. Tokwetsu, a Japanese restaurant in Midtown. Not the kind you find on Yelp. The kind that doesn't need to be found. Private omakase rooms. $700 a head. Celebrities, diplomats, billionaires. I only owned one dress nice enough for a place like that, and it still had a tag on it. I pulled it from the back of my closet, peeled off the label, and stood in front of the mirror. I didn't recognize the woman staring back at me. At 5:58 p.m., a sleek black SUV pulled up beside my building. A man in a pressed charcoal suit rolled down the window. Ms. Rivers.
Yes. Follow me, please.
We didn't enter through the front. Instead, he guided me to an alleyway lined with dumpsters and silent kitchen vents. Through a door. Past a corridor of chefs slicing fish in silence.
The kitchen gleamed like a surgical suite.
Every movement precise. Every voice hushed. Finally, we reached a sliding glass door. It opened. Eli was inside. Sitting cross-legged at a low table, barefoot, wearing a midnight blue kimono. His hair fell gently across his forehead. His expression softened when he saw me. Camille, he said like it was a poem.
This is incredible.
Only the best for someone brave enough to look. He said it casually, like a compliment.
Like idée donne something héroïque.
I smiled nervously and took my seat.
A serveur pour doir me saquer into céramique cup without award.
Course after course arrived, delicate, elegant, impossible to pronounce. But the food wasn't what made it surreal. It was Eli. He was human. He laughed when he dropped a chopstick. Blushed when I told him I'd memorized a scene from one of his old indie films. He listened when I spoke about Syracuse winters and off-Broadway dreams. Not once did he check his phone. Not once did he interrupt. You're easy to talk to, he said, sipping sake. You too. I've got this event coming up, he added. Private. Very exclusive. Some industry folks. I'd like you to come with me. My chest tightened. That sounds amazing. You'll need a dress, he added. I'll send someone. I wanted to say no. To ask questions. But instead I said,
Idée love tout.
After that night, we saw each other often. Lunch at a Brooklyn rooftop cafe. A midnight showing at the Angelica. He helped me run lines for an audition I bombed, but somehow didn't care about afterward. Being around him was like falling into warm water. Everything slowed. Softened. But then came the zoo. A crisp Sunday afternoon. Eli suggested the Central Park Zoo, just for fun. We moved among the crowds like shadows, hoods up, sunglasses on. By the lion enclosure, we stood next to two boys eating ice cream. One of them slapped the other's arm. Stop it, the taller one hissed. Frank said don't look. I froze. Frank? Harold Frank? I turned slowly toward the kids, but they were already walking away. I scanned the crowd. Everyone looked normal. Parents. Nannies. Teens with phones. But something was off. I couldn't quite place it. The timing of their movements? The way no one bumped into each other? The way a woman feeding pigeons never actually dropped any crumbs?
Camille.
Eli's voice broke through my thoughts.
You okay?
I nodded.
Yeah. Just déjà vu.
He smiled. I get that too. But I didn't. It wasn't déjà vu. It was direction. Like I'd wandered onto a set without knowing it. And the extras were better trained than I realized. The next day, A stylist arrived at my apartment with 3 dresses in garment bags. She never introduced herself. Just smiled, laid them on my couch, and left.
I chose Navy Silkwan.
It shimmered like ocean water. The event was scheduled for Saturday.
Pick-up à 11h30 du matin.
I didn't sleep the night before. Not out of nerves, but anticipation. This wasn't just a date anymore. This was something else.
Something bigger.
I didn't know what, but it hummed beneath my skin. When the limo pulled up, I felt like a bride walking to the altar. Eli was already inside. Ready, he beamed. I nodded. He took my hand. Held it the entire drive. At first, we traveled the streets I knew. Then the outskirts. Then nothing. Just woods. Endless. Quiet. Where are we going? I asked, voice barely above a whisper. You'll see, he replied. It's beautiful. The limo slowed. Ahead, in the clearing of a forest, lined like a dream, was a red carpet. Not on pavement. Not on marble. On dirt. We stepped out. The air was colder now. Dense. Come, Eli said. I took his hand. We walked. The deeper we went, the stranger it became.
Twinkle lights rapid around trees. Candle flickering in glass lanterne.
The distant hum of violins. Then, voices. Laughter. We turned a bend, and suddenly, a party. Celebrities I'd only seen in magazines. TV stars. Singers.
Face des grown-up watching.
All gathered beneath the trees, sipping from crystal glasses, chatting like they were at Cannes. Waiters floated through with silver trays of hors d'oeuvres. I spotted pigs in a blanket and smiled. I'm a sucker for those, I whispered to Eli. He chuckled. Then get one. I walked toward a tray. And stopped. The waiter was Marcus. Marcus. I asked, stunned. But he didn't look at me. Didn't blink. Would you like one, miss? He said, eyes fixed just below my chin. It's me. Camille. Don't you? He smiled politely. I'm sorry, miss. You must be mistaken. He walked away. And I stood there. Alone. I stood frozen beneath the canopy of glowing trees, the music swelling softly behind me like a warning I couldn't yet decipher. Marcus, if that was still Marcus, had vanished into the crowd of celebrity faces that now all turned toward me with gentle, knowing smiles. The kind of smiles you see in dreams right before they shift into nightmares. I stepped backward. Then, a soft bell rang. Ding. The chatter died instantly. Every head turned toward the small clearing in the center of the forest. A single podium had been placed atop a patch of grass, and beside it stood Eli, bathed in candlelight, his hands folded with reverence. Everyone, he called out, his voice rich and smooth, I'd like to introduce this month's guest of honor. He turned and extended his hand. To me. The crowd of stars, all too recognizable, turned once again, this time toward me. And for the first time in my life, I felt utterly exposed. Not watched, studied. Like I was a subject in a silent experiment. When I first met Camille, Eli continued, she saw me. Not the name. Not the brand. Me. She's brave, compassionate, worthy. He paused, lifting his glass. Shall we let her join us? Shall we let her walk with us? The crowd raised their glasses in eerie synchronization. To Camille. Their voices were perfectly in sync. Too perfect. I felt my body trembling. Every cell screamed to move, but my legs wouldn't listen. Something was wrong. Something had always been wrong. And then came the sound. Screaming. From the trees. Close your eyes. The voice cracked through the silence like lightning. Gasps. Murmurs. Waiters ducked. A tray clattered to the ground. From the shadows, stumbling barefoot through brambles, emerged the bald man from my first day on set. The one who took notes. But now he looked like he'd been aged a century. Skin sagging. Bare ribs poking through translucent flesh. His eyes were blood-red, hollow, desperate. He dropped to his knees before the party, choking on the cold air. Don't look at them, he cried. They'll take your eyes. They'll take your soul. And just like that, he collapsed. Eli's perfect expression didn't waver. but his hand slipped behind his back, signaling something, someone. I spun around. The servers know the actors, lay face down in the moss. Everyone else stood in polite silence, as if what just happened was a stage cue. I looked at Eli. What is this? His smile twitched. Just slightly. Like someone pulling a mask off crooked. This is your ceremony, Camille. You're turning. I backed away.
No.
I don't want this. You already accepted, Eli said gently. You looked. You touched. You shared connection. And now you belong. I shook my head violently. The air was thicker now. Like trying to breathe in syrup. I turned to run, but Eli was suddenly right there, inches from me. You wanted a better life, didn't you? You wanted to matter. You wanted to be seen. His voice deepened. Not louder, denser. Like it came from somewhere inside my bones. And then, his face began to change. The charisma drained from his features. His skin cracked at the edges. His eyes, once oceanic, were now pits of pulsing black. Beneath the fading glamour, I saw something else. Not a man. Not even a creature. A force. His skin peeled back like thin paper, revealing a skull that glowed blue, not with fire, but with memory. The kind that doesn't belong to one person. The kind that spans lifetimes. Generations. Worship. I fell to the ground, gasping. Around me, the forest tilted. Shapes in the shadows, famous faces twisted into something ancient and wrong, stepped closer, eyes vacant, jaws slack. Musicians. Child stars. Politicians. Dimitri was among them. Face down. Still holding his tray. I cried out. Dimitri. No answer. I crawled toward the woods, heart pounding. I didn't know where I was going, just away. Away from the light. Away from Eli. Camille, his voice echoed behind me, now multiplied, layered like a chorus. Stay. Stay and shine. I ran. Branches scraped my arms. My heels snapped. The red carpet blurred beneath my feet, weaving through the forest like a tongue leading me toward something darker. Behind me, I heard it. Camille, 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 Camille. Fast. Clipped. Endless. I didn't dare look back. I felt him gaining, faster than human legs could ever move. I broke through the trees and saw it. The limo. Parked exactly where it had been. Harold, smoking beside it. Frank. I screamed. He turned. His cigarette dropped. Camille. Start the car. He blinked at the forest behind me. Saw the light shift, the shadows pulse, the air change. He shielded his eyes. Don't look, he muttered. I threw the door open, leapt inside. Go. The car jerked forward. Then back. Then forward again. Harold gunned the engine, and we lurched onto the gravel path. Through the rear window, I saw Eli standing at the edge of the trees. His face, once grotesque, slowly reconstructed itself, piece by piece. A smile slid across his lips like a closing zipper. He raised one hand and waved. Goodbye? Or warning? I didn't care. We drove. And drove. Until the woods became city. And the city became distance. I never spoke. Not once. Harold dropped me off outside a rundown motel 2 towns over. I checked in with cash, locked the door, and unplugged the TV. But it was already on. A rerun. Eli Stone. Young. Smiling. Singing on some award stage from years ago. The same voice that had whispered my name as I ran. The same eyes that now looked directly into the camera. Directly at me. I threw a towel over the screen and collapsed onto the bed. I haven't moved since. I don't know what they are. I don't know what I almost became. But I know one thing for certain. They only need you to look. Just once. And they'll never let you go.